Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by Civics and IAS, where we try to discuss the top 10 important topics for the UPSC CSE Prelims for the day from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB. Displayed a list of topics which we have chosen for today's discussion. The first article of the day says that India and other Quad member nations on Tuesday reaffirmed the grouping's steadfast commitment to work towards a free, open and peaceful Indo-Pacific amid China's increasing military muscle flexing in the region. In this context, we'll first talk about Quad and then we'll talk about ASEAN. See, Quad, also known as the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, is an informal strategic forum comprising of four nations, namely Australia, India, Japan and the USA. Know that the four countries share a common interest in maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific, promoting democracy, human rights and rule of law, and countering China's expanding influence in the region. Note that the Quad initially formed in 2007 during an informal meeting of leaders from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It was the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe who was first to propose the idea of creating the Quad. Now, what are the principles behind the Quad? See, the motive behind the Quad is to keep the strategic sea routes in Indo-Pacific free of any military or political influence. So basically, it is seen as a strategic grouping to reduce Chinese domination. Significantly, the core objective of the Quad is to secure a rules-based global order, freedom from navigation, and a liberal trading system. Furthermore, the coalition aims to offer alternative debt financing for nations in the Indo-Pacific region. Then how does this Quad function? See, it is a loose grouping rather than a formal alliance. So it does not have a decision-making body or a secretariat or a formal structure like NATO or the United Nations. Also, unlike NATO, the Quad does not include provisions for collective defense, instead of choosing to conduct joint military exercises as a show of unity and diplomatic cohesion. Notably, the alliance is maintained through summits, meetings, information exchanges and military drills. Now, moving on to talk about ASEAN. See, ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So, it is a regional organization comprising of 10 Southeast Asian nations aimed at fostering economic and security cooperation. Established in 1967, ASEAN now represents a population of 662 million with a combined GDP of $3.2 trillion. Furthermore, the group is central to Asia's economic integration and plays a key role in regional trade agreements, but its ability to address certain challenges is limited by internal divisions. Now, the member countries of the ASEAN include Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Myanmar, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand and Vietnam. Now, talking about its structure and decision making, see, ASEAN is chaired by one of its member states rotating annually. So the decisions are typically made through consultation, guided by principles of non-interference and peaceful conflict resolution. The second article of the day says that cold wave conditions are intensified across Kashmir on Tuesday, with the IMD predicting fresh spells of light to moderate snowfall in the valley during the week, while large swaths of Uttar Pradesh witnessed maximum temperatures dipping by more than 5 degrees Celsius. In this context, we'll talk about cold wave. See, a cold wave is a rapid drop in the temperature within 24 hours to a level requiring increased protection for agriculture, industry, commerce and social activities. Now, what are the cold wave conditions? See, the Indian Meteorological Department defines cold wave conditions based on temperature thresholds. So, for the plains, the minimum temperature has to be less than or equal to 10 degrees Celsius. For hilly regions, the minimum temperature has to be less than or equal to 0 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, we have something called as the cold index, also called the winter chill factor, which measures the cooling effect of wind on air temperature. Now, talking about India's core cold wave zone, in the northern and the central India, it comprises of Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Whereas in the east and the southeast India, it comprises of Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha and Telangana. Now, what are the different causes of cold wave in India? First reason can be the absence of cloud cover. See, the clouds trap the outgoing infrared radiation, radiating it back to the ground. So the lack of clouds allows the heat to escape, cooling the surface very rapidly. And secondly, the snowfall in the upper Himalayas leads to cold winds blowing down from the mountains, lowering the temperatures in nearby regions. Thirdly, the subsidence of cold air, which means the downward movement of cold and dry air brings it closer to the surface, intensifying the cold conditions. Now, what about the La Nina? See, La Nina means cooler than normal sea surface temperature in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So it increases the frequency and intensity of the cold waves, which leads to wider coverage of cold wave affected areas. Then, if we have to talk about the western disturbances, see, weather systems originating in the Mediterranean Sea moving eastward are the western disturbances. So they can bring cold winds, precipitation, and cloud cover to northwestern India, causing temperature drops. But not all western disturbances result in cold wave conditions. The third article of the day says that Tiger Zenith, who had evaded all attempts to capture for almost 3 weeks since straying from Odisha, was finally on the way back from Kolkata to Simlipal Tiger Reserve. See, the tiger was captured in West Bengal on Sunday and is being returned after paperwork processed for the return. So the National Tiger Conservation Authority had asked for its safe return to Odisha, sought to immediate release. In this context, we'll talk about the Simlipal Tiger Reserve. See, it is situated in the Mayurbhanj district of the northernmost part of Odisha, surrounded by high plateaus and hills, with the twin peaks of Kairiburu and Megashini as the highest points. Talking about its significance and designations, see, it was declared a Tiger Reserve in the year 1956 and it was included under the Project Tiger in the year 1973. Notably, it was declared a Biosphere Reserve in June of 1994. Furthermore, it is part of the UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserves of 2009. Now, talking about this ecology and terrain, see, the terrain means undulating and hilly. The terrain is undulating and hilly, interspread with the open grasslands and wooded areas. Talking about its vegetation, we can see a mix of forest types with northern tropical moist deciduous forests dominating. Also, we can see semi-evergreen patches in some areas, and we see some unique fauna, which means the only landscape in the world home to melanistic tigers. Now, what are the associated conservation areas? See, part of the Mayurbhanj Elephant Reserve, which includes Hadgar Wildlife Sanctuary and Kuldiha Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, talking about its cultural significance, it is home to various tribal communities including Kolha, Santhala, Bhumija, Bathuri, Gondas, Khadia, Mankaria and Sahara. The fourth article of the day says that the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center InSpace on Tuesday said that it had facilitated the successful establishment and operationalization of 10 hosted payloads from non-government entities on board the POEM-4 module of the PSLV C-60 or the SpaceX mission. In this context, we'll talk about the POEM-4, its key features. See, it is the fourth mission in the POEM series. The total payloads are 24, which is a significant increase from 8 payloads in POEM-3. And 14 payloads are from ISRO or the Department of Space Centers. And 10 payloads are from the non-governmental entities, including the academia and startups, facilitated by InSpace. Now, if you have to talk about the comparative highlights of the POEM-4, firstly, we can see increased capacity. So, a threefold rise in the payloads compared to the POEM-3, and it reflects the enhanced utility and capability of the POEM platform. And there is greater involvement of academia and startups in the space experiments. Lastly, precursor experiments for the future missions are one of the scientific goals, and also microgravity experiments and technology validation. Now, why is this significant for India? Firstly, it reduces the entry barriers for the startups and academic institutions to participate in the space activities. Secondly, it enables the entities to qualify payloads for future satellite missions, fostering expertise in space technology. Then it utilizes the spent rocket stage, demonstrating the ISRO's emphasis on sustainability and low-cost solutions. Lastly, it encourages the collaboration between ISRO, InSpace and private entities, strengthening India's ecosystem. The next article of the day says that output in India's 8 core infrastructure sectors that constitute about 40% of overall industrial production grew at a 4-month high pace of 4.3% in November, led by a 13% surge in cement, marking the sharpest rise in the key construction inputs production in well over a year. In this context, we'll talk about the core sectors. See, the core sectors of an economy refer to the key industries that have a major impact on the economy. So in India, Eight core sectors are significantly influence various other industries and the overall industrial growth. So the eight core sectors of the industrial economy of the Indian economy are electricity, steel, refinery products, crude oil, coal, cement, natural gas, and fertilizers. Now, if you have to talk about the key features of it, firstly, these eight sectors collectively account for 40.27 of the index of industrial production, which measures the industrial growth. Now, this index of eight core industries is calculated monthly by the Office of the Economic Advisor under the Department for Promotion and Industry and Internal Trade of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So, it reflects the production performance of core industries both individually and collectively. What about its economic impact? See, these sectors influence other industries and play a critical role in the industrial performance and overall economic development also. These eight sectors collectively contribute 40.27, as discussed just now, to the index of industrial production, which is a measure of the industrial growth. The next article of the day says that traditionally a tea exporter, India is making significant inroads into the global coffee export market, with total exports during the current financial year up to November crossing the 1 billion mark for the first time, according to the data from the Center for the Monitoring Indian Economy. In this context, we'll talk about the coffee. See, coffee, which is a beverage brewed from the roasted and the ground seeds of the tropical evergreen coffee plants of African origin. Know that the native of highlands of the southern Ethiopia, which is the district of Kaffa. Furthermore, it contains caffeine as stimulants. Know that the main coffee species are coffee arabica and coffee canaphora. Now, what are the climatic conditions required for it? See, coffee plants require hot and humid climate with temperature varying between 15 and 28 degrees and rainfall from 150 to 250 centimeters. So it does not tolerate frost, snowfall, high temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius centigrade and strong sunshine, and is generally grown under the shady trees. Significantly, coffee plants grow in the well-drained, loamy soils with plenty of humus and minerals like calcium and iron. Furthermore, the coffee plants are often grown on hillsides at elevation of 600 to 1600 meters above the sea level. Now, what about the producer states in India? See, coffee is mainly produced in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha. Talking about the state-wise production, Karnataka accounts for up to 70% of the total production, Kerala 23%, Tamil Nadu 5%, and the other contributors are Odisha and the northeastern states. Now, with respect to the global context, India is the seventh largest producer globally after Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, Ethiopia, and Honduras. India has a share of about 3.50 in the global coffee production. Furthermore, it is the fifth largest exporter, exporting over two-thirds of its coffee production. Some of the key export markets of India are Europe, with Italy, Germany, and Belgium as the top buyers. Furthermore, these are the 5 varieties which got GI certification for the Indian coffee. The next article says that Center on Tuesday decided to maintain the status quo on the returns payable on small savings schemes for January to March 2025 quarter, making it the 4th successive quarter that these rates have remained unchanged. In this context, we'll talk about the small savings schemes. See, it is a set of saving instruments managed by central government to encourage regular savings among the citizens. Mostly they are popular due to high returns than the bank fixed deposits, sovereign guarantee ensuring safety, and also the tax benefits on certain schemes. Talking about its major features, see, firstly, it comprises 12 instruments, which is a significant contributor to household savings in India. Secondly, the depositors receive guaranteed interest rates. Thirdly, the collections from all schemes are credited to the NSSF, which stands for the National Small Savings Fund. Furthermore, the rates are based on the yields from the government securities. And lastly, post the COVID-19, small savings have become a crucial source of deficit financing for the government. Now, talking about the classification of the small scale instrument, firstly, we have the postal deposits, under which we have savings account, recurring deposits, time deposits with varied maturities, and also the monthly income scheme. Then we have the savings certificates like the National Small Savings Certificate and the Kisan Vikas Patra. Lastly, we have the social security schemes like the Sukanya Samriddhi Scheme, Public Provident Fund, and Senior Citizen Savings Scheme. The last article of the day says that the Union Government's fiscal deficit stood at about 8.5 lakh crore or 52.5% of 2024-25 budget estimates at the end of November, up from 46.5% a month ago. Furthermore, the fiscal gap was 6.6% below the April to November 2023 figures. Also, the centre's capital expenditure grew 21% in November after a weak trajectory between the April and October, but full year's 11.11 lakh crore target may be difficult to attain, according to the analysts. In this context, we'll talk about the relevant aspects. See, firstly, if we talk about the fiscal deficit refers to the shortfall in the government's revenue when compared to its expenditure. So when the government's expenditure exceeds its revenues, the government will have to borrow money or sell assets to the fund deficit. Furthermore, if you have to calculate the fiscal deficit, you have to take total expenditure minus the total receipts, excluding the borrowings. Now, what is capital expenditure? See, the money spent by the government or a company on the development of machinery, equipment, buildings, health facilities and education, or even it can be also the acquisition of fixed assets like the land or investments that yield future profits or dividends. Significantly, it represents investment or development spending with long-term benefits. Talking about its key features, firstly, it focuses on assets with long-term impact on economic productivity and operation efficiency. Then we also have the economic benefits like it boosts the labor force participation, then it enhances the economy's production capacity, and lastly, it also supports the creation and improvement of the production facilities. Moreover, it is considered capital expenditure as it reduces liabilities. Now, what is the importance? See, it leads to asset creation that generates revenue over time. Notably, it plays a vital role in the economic development and capacity building. And also, it helps in taking stock of the economy's current state and improving its future potential. So, in this video, we have discussed 8 articles in total for today. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.